Also, later on the show, the Queen. God save the Queen. The Queen passed yesterday, the Queen of England, and of course we're remembering her illustrious life.
Queen Elizabeth II provided us with the stability and the strength that we needed. She was the very spirit of Great Britain, and that spirit will endure. She has been our longest ever reigning monarch. It's an extraordinary achievement to have presided with such dignity and grace for 70 years.
Your president, who has led you through these momentous changes, will reach the end of his second term.
And as I promised, I've been sharing very interesting facts about the Queen throughout the show. And I wonder if you knew, she got married in 1947, to Prince Philip. And this was just a few years after the Second World War had ended. The British economy was in tatters. There was no money anywhere. So the Queen actually paid for her wedding gown with coupons. These coupons were being distributed to citizens so that they could afford things. And she paid for her designer gown made by Sir Norman Hartnell. Paid for it with coupons. It is said that so many British women sent her their coupons so that she could use them to buy her wedding gown. But she had to kindly return them because at the time it was illegal to transfer a coupon to another user. So she sent everybody's coupons back, used her own coupons to buy her wedding gown, and it was a massive, massive celebration. We continue to celebrate her today, and of course, later we'll find out from you what your fondest memories are of Her Royal Majesty the Queen, and we'd love for you to send them through on Twitter. Use the hashtag JoySMS. Your fondest memories of the Queen. We'll share them with the world. All right, now getting cash on the go from an ABSA ATM is now so easy, even when you don't have your contactless ABSA debit card with you. For the first time in Ghana, you can withdraw money from any ABSA ATM with the ABSA mobile banking app using a QR code. It's easy, it's safe, it's convenient. Just open your ABSA mobile app, select ATM QR Cash, scan the QR code on the ATM screen, follow the prompts, and get your cash out. Easy. That's another digital innovation that gets things done. That's Africanacity. That's ABSA. Download the ABSA mobile banking app now to get started, or just go to the nearest ABSA branch to sign up. Speaking of digital innovation, today, of course, we are trying to figure out what's going on with these SIM cards. The NIA is here to help answer your questions. We also have Selorm Branttie joining us over the phone, and Dr. Abudu Abdul Ganiu is the one representing the National Identification Authority here in the studio. Okay, are you ready to wake up the champion in your child today? That's right, don't just wake up your child, help wake up the champion in them with energy from Milo with Active Go and other foods. Your child needs all the help they can get as they go through their daily activities. Milo with Active Go contains the natural goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa. It's a source of vitamins B2, B3, B6, B12, C, and D, and minerals, iron, calcium, phosphorus. So energize them with a nourishing cup of Milo every day. Milo, energy to go further. This advert is FDA approved. Now, everywhere make hot, baby, but still, man for enjoy regardless. Grab your favorite Bigo drink from Twellium Industrial Company Limited, producers of Verna Mineral Water and Rush Energy Drink. Guess what? Bigo drink gives you 20 bottles for a pack. Yeah, no, not 16 anymore. 4 more bottles for free. Boys, boys, girls, girls, mommy and daddy for the party, funeral, family day out, and any other social gathering. No wahala. Grab any of their flavors: cola, orange, pineapple, apple, cocktail, and so forth. Bigo drink, big in taste, big in flavor, big in quantity, and very affordable for all. Bigo drink, another premium product from Twellium Industrial Company Limited, producers of Rush Energy Drink and Verna Mineral Water. All right then, so it's 8:31. Now I want you to listen to this. This is the effect that the SIM service cancellation has had on some customers.
I'm very mad, seriously. I'm among the first people who registered. For over 2 years now, my card is not being validated. I've been going up and down. When you go to this office, they say go here, go there. And right now, you've blocked me from getting access. Why? Why should that happen? The foundation is not good. the foundation of Ghana card is no good. It's not that people don't want to register, but then we don't get access to it. My brothers are not having theirs. So how can they link the Ghana card to their SIM card? You see, it doesn't make sense in Ghana here. One person will just decide for us what to do, which doesn't make sense.
I did a registration on the 10th of March, way before the June 30th deadline. And for some reason, they have barred me from making calls. I have done the registration. I did a registration on the 10th of March, way before the June 30th deadline. And for some reason, they have barred me from making calls. I don't understand what is going on. Everything I can do to check that I have, fully linked my SIM card with my Ghana card, I have done it. And it's showing that I have done that. So what is happening? MTN must be able to explain to me why I am unable to make calls.
I sincerely do not see the logic in what the NCA or the telcos are doing. I remember a team came to my office. There were a whole lot of us who wanted to register our numbers. So they came and registered all of us. And so I'm surprised to wake up this morning and I'm unable to make calls. I dashed to their office this afternoon and I'm told it's a technical problem and that perhaps when the team came to take our information, they did not synchronize it with their system. And so that's how come the number is not registered.
So there is stress in the system. Let's try and figure this out. We've already heard some voices on this. You've already heard the thoughts of Selorm Branttie, who's the Vice President of Imani Center for Policy and Education. And I don't think there's a better person to help us engage in figuring out what ought to be happening right now. He joins us over the phone. Selorm, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Kojo. Good morning to all your listeners and all Ghanaians. And also Mr. Abdul Ganiu from the NCA.
Indeed, he is our guest in the studio.
NCA.
Indeed. We're very glad that you're here because obviously this means that the NIA can give us some updates on what is happening with the registration process. Those who are desperately waiting to register their SIM cards but can't do so because they are yet to get their Ghana cards. So, but I want to start with you, Selorm, and really exhaust this issue here. So the communications minister says these are punitive measures that are being instituted for those who have not registered their SIM cards. Why are we hearing from people who have registered their SIM cards all complaining that they can no longer make or receive calls? Why are we hearing, I mean, isn't this biometric? How can we be identifying the wrong people to shut off their service, even though we have a biometric system for identifying everyone?
So Kojo,
yes.
Is that question directed to me?
Oh, that's you, Selorm. Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. So let's start from first principles. If you are running or implementing any kind of IT system, the first things you need to do is to ensure that there is data integrity, which means that whatever you are trying to do should not sit in multiple places. If you have one point of reference for something, it should be able to be efficient enough to address anything that is directed to that thing. Now, we have a scenario where the previous legal regime, there were different types of identities you could use to register for your SIM card. I've forgotten the details of the law, but there were. Now, upon the whim of the Minister of Communications, we are all now being coerced to use only the Ghana card. However, the transition between using all those multiple ID cards and then synchronizing it with the Ghana card details has been done in every way that you think it should be wrongly done. A simple way to handle this would have been to merge all the existing data with the NIA database in the back end, a process that can be done with the right computer technicians, of which we have no shortage of in this country. A simple software and database synchronization would have done that. And then from there on would have said that, okay, those who have problems with theirs should probably furnish some information, either via text or via some other methodology. And then those with whom we have complete doubts, they should report to the nearest outlet, telco outlet, to rectify their situation. The matter is that the NIA's processes are not dependent on anybody's processes. NIA is running this thing as a continuous process ad infinitum as far as the entity called Ghana would exist. They are not bound to be subject to somebody else's timelines as to when they should handle registration. It is typically within whichever budget and whichever logistics and administrative scenarios that they have. Which means that you cannot say that because you are doing some other exercise, the NIA should rapidly push out cards when they probably do not have the personnel, they do not have the number of operating outlets or other accessories that are required for this to run. The onus lies on the NCA, the Ministry of Communication, and whoever issues any directive to make the Ghana card the sole source of identity for re-registering SIM cards to do so. And for anybody to have even issued that directive, there should have been a huge coverage of people who should have Ghana cards to have those Ghana cards. So we are talking about there should have been about maybe 90% coverage of people owning or using Ghana cards for such a regime to have taken place. Without that thing happening, any kind of transition would cause chaos, huge problems, right from the point of trying to integrate that data to the point of new people even registering. And that is what we are having now. Because we have created a dispensation now where the dependencies for every project to be implemented, there are core dependencies. These core dependencies are run by stakeholders. There has been very poor consultation between the stakeholders. And the fact that there was even some kind of conflict or unresolved issues between these core stakeholders, extending it now to the general public and to all the people in the real world means that the problems will only compound and cascade because there are broken channels of communication. Which are the channels of communication we are talking about? The telcos and the mode with which they are going to capture the data, where the data is going to sit, who is going to have access to that data, what that data is supposed to do, and whether the data is even going to fulfill the objectives for which we are running this whole exercise. Unfortunately, as we sit here today as Ghanaians, the whole SIM registration activity is not even synchronizing with the NIA database. And therefore, everything that we are doing is literally null and void.
So let me ask you this. I mean, the NCA is not the only state institution that is insisting that Ghanaians register their SIM card in order to access the service they supervise. The banking sector has done the same thing. We didn't have this much uproar when they did it. What's the difference?
The difference is that those who are banked are a smaller segment of the population. When it comes to access to communication, literally everybody above the age of 15, if I could be corrected, has the right to own a SIM card. Now, the SIM card is more of a very basic right. Banking is optional. You can decide to own a bank account or not. But where we are, where we sit in the 21st century now, communication is an essential tool for existence. Mobile penetration in Ghana is over 100%. It's about 120% or something, which means that for running even the most basic daily activity, mobile phones are required. Mobile phones or SIM cards are required for communication, for financial transactions, for very essential interactions between human beings all over the planet, Ghana inclusive. And Ghana has even been one of the countries that have even been advanced in terms of adoption of a lot of these mobile telephony services. So to disrupt this and then say suddenly that you need an extra requirement then that requirement must be so common and so much available that getting that requirement should not be difficult. However, in this case, it is different. So we already had a law that mandated or allowed everybody to register a SIM card using a nationally recognized identification, which we all did. Now, when you have that, and then suddenly you add an extra requirement, that extra requirement should be such that equitable, it should be as available, or it should be so common that transitioning to that new dispensation would not require a lot of extra work. Unfortunately, we are in a situation where the NIA has not been equipped enough to provide these to the full extent to which everybody can utilize it. But that is even just one small part of the problem. Apart from getting the Ghana card, now you have to go through a whole set of steps to be able to re-register your SIM card. The process through which this is done, through the app that is being used, through the telco networks, and all of that, has been fraught with its own gross inefficiency. So now that they are trying to institute punitive measures, which in itself is very debatable as to its legality, these punitive measures are now backfiring. Why are they backfiring? Because they have not even been able to sort and keep the data that they themselves collected in the right format or in the right silos. And therefore, they have a lot of mistakes, which means that even with the re-registration process, there were so many aspects of it that were incomplete. There were so many aspects of data that were missing. And these are the things that we have been talking about right from day one. They have not built a system that is robust, a system that is transparent, a system that is efficient, a system that does what it's supposed to do. If it did what it was supposed to do, we would not be in a situation where people who are fully registered should go back and go and register these things and therefore not be cut off. And it just is a clear demonstration of the inefficiencies, the gross inefficiency, and the unplanned nature of this whole exercise, which is akin to that of a petulant child that wants a different kind of candy every day just so that it will satisfy its need to throw tantrums. And this is not how governance is done. This is not how policies are run to encourage digitalization in a country such as Ghana, where we are transitioning a lot of people from manual-based processes into digital processes. This is a very poor advertisement of how to transition a country or how to adopt digital solutions at a very crucial time when we need these for crucial national development. It is very, very sad that we sit here and have allowed this thing to disrupt this country so much that within a day, there has been so much confusion that chiefs, lawyers, doctors, people who are in emergency situations could not make outgoing calls just because of the whims of a few people who think that all the power resides in them to treat this country like a lab. This is not how policy is implemented, especially when it is affecting a very core aspect of our existence. In the absence of everything, communication is one of the most critical tools that is required for anybody to conduct any kind of business or even to conduct very crucial core emergency situations. And we have been robbed of that just because we have not been able to think through a policy and look at the core objectives of what it's supposed to achieve and then focus on doing that in a seamless manner. Right. And this ad hoc manner and this, knee-jerk approach to problem solving is what is bringing us to where we are today. At this moment and today, the September 30th deadline is not feasible, and it is very unfortunate that the Minister of Communication yesterday made a very appalling statement that shows very poor emotional intelligence and a lack of the modernness of servant leadership. She probably needs to read a primer on servant leadership and understand that she is there to serve a purpose, to enhance the aspect of communications and improve it in this country, instead of being exclusive and creating a situation where now we are excluding, we are having an exclusionist policy, a sort of communication apartheid, just because people cannot get something that is not available to them through no fault of theirs. This apartheid or this lack of inclusiveness is actually even against the SDG goals that Ghana has always been spending lots of money and time to actually work towards. It is inimical to our development as a nation, and somebody has to pay the price for all these egregious discrepancies that have occurred between yesterday and today.
You earlier made a call or made a suggestion that perhaps a class action suit might be suitable or required at this point. Now, it occurs to me that a lot of people are being negatively affected by this action. You can imagine lots of people who have children, whose children's phones have SIM cards in them that they may not have yet been able to register due to NIA Ghana card delays. There are people who have broadband, which is all powered through a SIM. I have broadband. I didn't even realize that I would have to register my broadband SIM. I don't know the process for registering it because I don't know the phone number to take with me to go and I don't know what the process is to register my broadband SIM. All of these SIMs could be cut off any minute.
Yes.
I'm wondering what the legal remedy. I mean, you've already suggested a class action suit, but I wonder whether it's easy to find your telco liable for any damages or losses you may incur as a result of this. Is it a clear path to find your telco liable, or should we be suing the NCA or the NIA? Who should we be suing?
So we are still analyzing the situation as are ongoing. But this is what is going to happen, or this is what is happening. I have put out Google form link where anybody who has been affected by this can enter their details and be part of co-claimants of lawsuits that we are preparing, or a set of lawsuits that we are preparing. In fact, as far-reaching as this has been on a lot of people, we want this to be the biggest class action lawsuit in the legal history of this country. And we are getting there. And I hope that for the purpose of public accountability, your honorable self will be able to even replicate the link on your website so that all those who are affected can also join in to seek redress. And the reason is that there are very legitimate reasons why this has to go to court. The first being that those who, and some of them have already interviewed and played the playback of the interviews just a few minutes ago on the show. There are people who went through the full process. Through no fault of theirs, they have gone through everything. And as far as they were concerned, they were confirmed as registered, and their lines have been cut off. They are even the most damaged of all of them, because for every single minute that they were denied access to their telco service, it is a liability, and somebody has to pay for it. This is how we drive the country into judgment debts, through very flawed implementation of activities, or through very illegal means. This is illegal. If I have done everything that is required for me to have access to my SIM card, and note that in Ghana we prepay for our SIM credits. Yeah. We do not pay after. Most of us SIM subscribers pay in advance for the services. So why should we pay in advance for a service and be denied that service? That denial of service alone it makes the telcos culpable, makes those who cause the telcos to run this program culpable. And everybody has to answer for it. Because even when the telcos themselves deny customer service, the NCA as a regulator surcharges the telcos and makes them pay some punitive measures. And therefore, in this particular case, where people have lost economic opportunities, imagine if you were driving in the middle of Techiman to Tamale, and you had a road accident for whatever reason, and your SIM line was bad for making external calls, and you were bleeding and you needed to call for help, you would die. And this is the consequence of very poor policy decision making that the minister has spearheaded and is saying that we are only the only ones to blame for our inactions, and therefore she is also going to be blamed for her actions. The same way is reciprocity. Whatever you dish out, you should be ready to receive. And therefore, it means that anybody who has been affected by this, by the negligence of the ministry and the MCA and the telcos in fulfilling or ensuring that the registration from point A to stage 2 to stage 3 or whatever stage, everybody in that process is culpable and liable and should be sued, and there should be some recompense that should be compensation that they should receive. And for all the listeners out there, anybody who has had any sort of issue like this, we are appealing to you to sign up and be a co-claimant. Right. We need to make people answerable for their actions. And when those actions affect us, even when we have done everything that is required to do, we need to begin to start making them pay for it. Right. Because if it was externally and we're working with external agents, the country would have been sent to court and there have been judgment debts awarded against this country.
Okay.
We also deserve that. And this is the reason why we are going to ensure that that lawsuit is filed, and as many claimants as possible should be served and should be should be recompensed for the damage that it has caused them.
Okay. I want to say thank you to Selorm Branttie very much, actually, for spending time to explain some of these issues to us. We appreciate it. And now I want to come into the studio because, of course, Dr. Ganiu is here from the NIA. Look, at this point, the NCA and the people of Ghana are, in a bit of a situation here. But there are some of those people who would have been registered by now if they had their Ghana card. The NIA, of course, has said that you're not working to anybody's timetable, which is reasonable because you have an ongoing duty.
Sure.
But there are people who have come to you. They have registered. They don't have their Ghana cards. Why? What's the latest on that, and when will they get their cards?
Okay, I'm happy that for now we all understand that the Ghana card registration is a continuous process, because from the beginning, people thought that there was going to be a deadline where at a certain time
we've moved on from that.
We've moved on, so that's
from
great.
That.
Now, but it's also important to realize that for the age brackets that is currently being registered, those who are 15 years and above, it is not static. It is equally dynamic, because somebody who was 14 years yesterday would have turned 15 today. So on a daily basis, you are going to have new people turning the age of 15 and above who are equally supposed to register for the Smart Dual Interface Identity Card. So if you just go by the fact that on a regular basis, you'll find people at NIA offices, whether regional or districts, applying for the Ghana card. The card has delayed for 2 or 3 days, not yet printed. Again, that will not be painting the real picture, the picture that must be understood. Because once the population continue to change in age, you would expect those people to qualify for that smart identity
interest
card.
is in those who
now
have gone through the process
people who
and
have
are
gone
waiting
through,
for their
the
cards.
people who have gone through the process. By the time mass registration ended, we had that in millions, because we're moving from region to region. And I've come to the studio and discuss what reasons account for that. Data inconsistency, largely. Maybe at that beginning, a lot of Ghanaians didn't know that if you are coming with data, you make sure that it's consistent with previous data that NIA has had about you. And if you've made changes to your name, for instance, or even date of birth, you needed to bring the appropriate documentation to support your registration. So people didn't know most of these things. But those backlog cards were in millions that were yet to be printed. We have gone through the printing process. And Kojo, as we speak, we have about 503,706 as of last week, Friday, the 30th of August, 2022, cards that are yet to be printed across all our regional and district offices. And like I said, this number was in millions, right? So we've gotten to this point, and we hoping that over the course of this month, most of these cards should be printed. But the system is designed in such a way that when cards are not printing instantly, they should be printed through the deferred mode. So obviously, you are always going to have cards in backlog that are yet to be printed. That's how the system is designed. So we are never going to have a certain time T where all registered, all printed cards.
Okay.
That's never going to happen.
That's important,
Yes.
because it then leads to my suggestion. Well, you tell me if it's feasible.
Okay.
You have their details
Yes.
in a database. It's just the card that is yet to be printed.
Exactly.
Their information is there. They are registered as Ghanaians. That data is available. Is there no way of interfacing with that database so that, for example, if the NIA wants to check that this phone number belongs to a person with a Ghana card, they can do so, especially since they've collected their biometric data as well, so they can do the cross-check. Can that not be done? Can
Yeah,
the
so,
NIA
so it's all about policy at the level of the ministry, and it's also about the mandate of the National Communication Authority, whether this can be done working with the MNOs. I've heard Engineer Ken Achibe made this particular suggestion, and I believe he's been talking to the appropriate persons in this regard. So by end of September, when we continue to have this number of people whose cards are yet to be printed, yet they have registered, and if there were cases to do with their data inconsistencies, for instance, those matters have been adjudicated upon, but the cards have not been printed, then that is a decision for the ministry and all the stakeholders within that space to decide.
I would
But
suggest
from
that
where
that
I
decision
sit,
should be made before the deadline.
well,
not
so,
after the
yeah,
deadline.
so probably you would have to have this conversation with the NC and the ministry as well. That's how I see it. I mean, I've heard the telecommunication chamber make this suggestion. As an individual, I should think that it's feasible. But
Doc,
it is for the institutions to work around this.
Doc, in 30 seconds, what's the NIA's message to the frustrated Ghanaian who is waiting for his Ghana card so he can register?
Well, I think that if you look at it again, the frustrations have come down to some extent. And that was also because Ghanaians who had lost their cards and even wanted to update any record were finding a difficulty in doing so. So that's when you saw all these crowds at the LWAC Sports Stadium. But we have decentralized those services that if you go to every regional capital at the moment, update of personal information is taking place. It used to be only Accra. And if you go to every district office, cards are being replaced. Persons who have lost their cards or cards have damaged and they have reported to the police and come with police extracts. Those replacements are being done at every district office. And aside that, all the 276 operational district offices we have, registration is taking place. In addition to the regional capitals, the 16 regional offices. The difficulty we have had is that as soon as the extension is announced, I mean, if you were there a day before the extension and saw the huge crowds, as soon as the extension is announced, then you find the numbers plummeting. And the average throughput, for instance, before the last deadline was around 11,000 across all our registration centers in the country. So we're registering as many as 11,000 people a day. And Kojo, as soon as the minister announced the extension of the deadline, 2 or 3 days after, the number plummeted to about 4,000 a day. So there's also an attitudinal problem that I will not miss any opportunity when I have to discuss this matter, because it does bring so much pressure on us as individuals, on our logistics and everything else. So when we have put these measures in place, it depends on how Ghanaians respond to these measures immediately. I mean, as soon as those punitive measures were announced, you now go to the telecos and you find crowds there, you know. But before that, those were not the crowds we were seeing. So that's one other challenge that we have to address on the attitudinal side.
All right, so that's your message to Ghanaians. Thank you very much. Dr. Abudu Abdul Ganiu is the head of corporate affairs at the National Identification Authority. We've got friends coming through to tell us all about some rather special things you can do with your money.